we'll say hi to Todd if he's watching. If you're watching, you're energetically with us. Yeah, we'll just dedicate this next hour, fully to, and I'm really gonna, kind of focus on acknowledging you, Morgan, and acknowledging your numbers. And, in the perfect moment, we'll thread that in and we'll weave that in with beautiful Todd's numbers too. So we can just see how you dance together numerologically in this lifetime. So what I've done is I've created 3 blueprints for you. So I'm acknowledging all 3 names. So there's Morgan Lee Bestwick. So that was the name on your birth certificate. Is that right? Okay.
Which is now also on my marriage certificate.
Exactly. So that's just significant. And I'm gonna, just from my little numerological world, I'll explain why that's significant and why it's special. Like, for me, nothing happens. I mean, it's the same with you, I would imagine. Nothing happens by coincidence. Everything happens for a reason. So I just, I'm really going to honor and acknowledge Morgan Lee Bestwick so that the numbers and the keys and the codes that come with that combination of letters, shall we just say, and in alignment with your date of birth. And I didn't write it down. I just wrote all your numbers, but just remind me of your date of birth. It's the 10th of the 3rd, 67. Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. And then there's Morgan Zachest. Is that how you pronounce it?
Zachest.
Oh, Zachest. Okay. So, and that was the name that you had from what age? Just remind me.
Probably about 9 months old.
Okay, early doors. Okay.
So 9 months through to 13. When I was 13, I found out that he wasn't my father at all. Yeah, and just dropped it immediately.
Okay, so just tell me the story. So how did Morgan Lee Bestwick, how did that find its way into your birth
I've got
certificate?
an older brother, Michael Bestwick. It was his father. My mum had separated from him. So they were divorced. She had a one-night stand with my father. But because she was single when she had this baby and she put me up for adoption, she just put on my birth certificate Morgan Lee Bestwick. And she put Lee because Lee, my nana, was her maiden name was Lee. I've got a lot of cousins that are Lee. So, yeah, she just put that name down because she didn't have a surname. And that was her previous marital name.
Okay. So what was your mum's surname when you were born?
Well, she was still using Bestwick, I think. I think she was still using her old married name.
Yep. Gotcha. And Lee, is that your paternal nana or your maternal nana?
It is my maternal. That was her maiden name. So there's a lot of Lees through the family.
Gotcha. Okay. So it's on your mum's side, your mum's mum.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. 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 Gotcha. And she was going to put you up for adoption, but she kept you.
Well, she put me up for adoption in Melbourne. She didn't tell anyone that she was pregnant. She flew back to Tasmania. She got pneumonia and nearly died. And she whispered in her grandmother's ear, "I've had this baby I've left in Melbourne." So that grandmother flew to Melbourne because I hadn't been adopted out yet. I was just in foster care, grabbed me, brought me back to my mother, and my mother survived. And when I met my father 15 years ago, the first thing he said was, "My brother's got a daughter called Morgan Lee Hughes." Both of our grandmothers hated our names. So I've got a cousin called Morgan Lee Hughes. And my daughter's called Ashley Jade, Ashlee. And when I met his sons, Russell, one half brother's got a daughter called Ashley, Ashlee, and a daughter called Jade. So we've got his mother would have turned over in her grave because she ended up having 2 granddaughters called Morgan Lee, and she hated the names, hated them. Strange but true.
So your nana didn't like her surname. Your nana didn't like her surname.
No, she liked her surname. She hated the name Morgan. They both hated the name Morgan. But both boys' wives had daughters. I haven't met her, but she's 12 months older. So she had a Morgan Lee, you know, a year older than me, and then a year later, but she never knew, she died before she found out, had a second granddaughter called Morgan Lee.
Okay. Well, that's just interesting in itself, just because of your numbers, and I'll a little bit more in a minute. The story behind your name, that's really helpful. And so Zachest, how did Zachest come into the picture?
So my mother met John Zachest when I was 9 months old, and she never married him, but she stayed with him for 13 years, and she had 2 sons. So I've got 2 brothers. He was Latvian, so 2 brothers called Delmar Zachest and Marcus Zachest.
Okay.
And then when I had my son, his father hated his father, so didn't want his son to bear the name. So he insisted that my son be called Jordan Lee.
Wow. Names. It's just so interesting, names, because there's the human energetic, you know, feeling towards a name, or especially, you know, given that so many people receive their surnames from the father line and the masculine lineage.
Yeah.
And I'm really noticing some shifts that are starting to happen. There's a lot of people claiming, reclaiming, or wanting maiden names and names from their mother's side. And
I know. Yes.
I feel it's just starting to balance everything out that's been a bit out of bonk for quite a while, as we know. But it's just fascinating hearing the stories, you know, and just, you know, the people that love their names and are really connected to them, and the people that aren't, and the reasons why, and when people change their names, and just where they are on their journey now, and what name resonates with them now.
Well, I hated my name my whole life, and I think around about late 30s, I started went, oh, it suits me now. I've grown into it.
Yeah. I felt the same with Katherine. Like I just, it felt too old and too long, and no one could spell it right because it's got 2 A's in it. And everyone just called me Kat from about the age of 13, and I never corrected it. But it changed the vibration of frequency of, you know, who I am. And I looked at the numerology of Kat Kinnie even versus Katherine Kinnie, very different.
Yeah. Yes.
But from a numerological perspective, it's only from about the age of 30 onwards do we start to really be able to embody our divine soul's purpose, which is one of the numbers in our blueprint. Yeah. And from about the age of 35 onwards, that's when it gets very strong. And so, you know, it's really interesting that it was around 30 that you even started to.
Absolutely. And also it was by the late 30s I really owned it. I'm like, no, I was meant to be Morgan Lee. I hated it my whole life. 30s I started going, oh well. But yeah, late 30s or after 35. Actually, no, I'd had Jordan at 32. So yeah, it was in a few years of having him. I went, no, I am Morgan Lee. This is right for me. Because my mother was, when she was pregnant, was reading and saw a book about a pirate, Captain Morgan. And she said, oh, I like that name, and named me after a pirate. But yeah, it was then I went, no, this is right for me. I couldn't be anything else.
That's perfect. That's really perfect. It's good that you're in alignment with that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, because there's some themes. This is the other thing. Sometimes, and more often than not, even when someone changes their name once, twice, 3 times, there's numerological themes. So there's certain numbers that just flow through the names and stay with them. And those are numbers that are very important to that soul, important to our soul's journey, important for our service. And what's really interesting is there are 2 numbers that follow you throughout your name changes, and even into your relationship blueprints with Todd for both your birth name and your current name. There are two numbers that just show up repeatedly.
Okay.
Which is fascinating. And they're 9 and 11. 9/11.
Mm-hmm. They're my favorite. Oh my God, I'm covered in goosebumps. I see it every time. 9/11 every morning. I see it every night. I see it. I'm really, like, I love those numbers. So they're just my favorite numbers, and they make no sense, especially when you think what 9/11 represents. But to me, they're celebration, they're joy, they're change, transformation. I love those numbers. Oh my God, sorry.
That's okay.
Oh my God, I'm covered in goosebumps.
So this is how our soul kind of talks to us through numbers, and even through letters and names and things like that, and partnerships. And so those are two numbers that are very, very important to you in this lifetime. They, you know, they show up throughout your names in both of the relationship blueprints that you have, and they're present in Todd's blueprint as well.
Okay. Well, he likes the numbers too. 9/11.
Yeah. So, you know, even though what happened on 9/11 that everyone on the planet knows about, from a numerological perspective, these are two numbers that actually sit right next to one another, and are actually really good friends from where I sit, because the 9 is the last mortal number. So I refer to the mortal numbers as 1 to 9. Because I find them easier to embody as a human. We're all cosmic beings, we're all starseeds, we're all from incredible places across the cosmos, and we've had amazing multi-dimensional experiences. But what I find is people with more mortal numbers, they find it easy to be human. Those of us with the master numbers, and this is what I was talking to Todd about last year, we find it a little bit more difficult to be human. We're a little bit more cosmic. We're you know, we're on the edge, so to speak. And, you know, some of us with, you know, especially the 11s, we're actually happier way out there sometimes. And we find it much easier to connect out there than be in our bodies and be on Earth. So the 9 and the 11 are right next to each other, because the 9 is the last mortal number that's here, reminding us that we're all connected. We're all one big human family, and we're all souls having a human experience. We're all sentient beings, and, you know, we're connected to the trees and the rocks and the water and the land and the earth and all the animals and all the creatures and the insects and all the beings in the water and all of humanity. And that's the 9. It's the rainbow energy. It's unconditional love. It is the frequency of celebration at its most expansive, the 9. The 9s are here to remind us to celebrate life on Earth, celebrate our humanity. And then the 11 is the first master number that takes us into the double digits. And so I always say that the 11 is the bridge from the mortal, and is the portal from the mortal to the cosmic. So 9 and 11 are always kind of, they have to hold hands. They, you know, the 9 provides the rainbow bridge to Asgard from Midgard, from a, you know, kind of Norse mythological perspective. So, you know, the 9 is also associated with death, endings, closure, completion, letting go of what no longer serves us. And the 11 is the energy and the frequency of illumination. And not just birth, because birth is the 1 frequency, but the 11 holds 2 1s. So the 11 is like cosmic birth. It's the awakening. It's the remembrance. It's the illumination. It's the light that is shone on that which is required for us to remember who we are and where we're from and why we're here. So that's just a little bit about the energies and the frequencies of the 9 and the 11. And like I said, both you and Todd, it's a big theme. It's a really big theme in both of your blueprints and your relationship blueprints. And so, you know, as individuals, but even together, you're here to help people let go of and step away from the old and the old earth and the old way of being, and, you know, embrace and move into the new earth, the new way.
Yeah. Absolutely makes sense. Thank you.
So what I'll do now is I'll talk more about where those numbers show up, and then I'll talk about other numbers that are present in your blueprints and just the roles that they play and what it all means, and, you know, so that you can integrate it and understand it. So the first reason why the 9 and the 11 are very important, significant, you probably know this already, you're a 9 life path numerologically. So, yep, go on.
I think I recall having numerology done like many years ago, and it's almost like almost every number that showed up was 9s, and I think you had them in 3 boxes, and they were up in the top 2, and there was sort of like nothing in the bottom. But I recall them being like quite a few 9s.
So our life path comes from our date of birth. So when we add all of the numbers together, we keep adding them together, we'll get a single number between 1 and 9, or a double digit if it's the same. So yes. You're a 9 life path, Todd's an 11 life path. So already there's the 9 and the 11. And then together, when you add the 9 and the 11 together, 9 plus 11 is 20, so it's a 2, but also we refer to the 11 as the 11/2, so 9 plus 2 is 11. So I would refer to your joint relationship life path as an 11, as an 11/2. And the 11 is the twin flame energy. It's the twin flame frequency, sacred sexuality, all of that jazz. Yeah. So I know that that's a big thing for you and Todd.
Absolutely it is. Oh my goodness, yes.
And so our life path is the theme of our life. It's the central theme of our life. If our life were a book or a movie or a play, it would be the plot. And so it's also, like, some numerologists say it's the lessons that we're here to learn. Personally, I don't necessarily feel we're here to learn lessons. We're here to remember who we are. So I feel that our life path is the lens and the filter through which our soul is experiencing life on earth, and how we're remembering more about who we are, where we're from, and why we're here. So your lens and filter is the 9, Todd's is the 11. So every time you have an experience in your life that is connected to the 9, you actually remember more. It will be an activation for you. And so the lower frequencies, or the more contracted or contrast experiences of the 9, are associated with endings, completion, closure, death. Doesn't have to be physical death. It could be the death of a thought, a habit, a belief, an idea, a place, a space, a way of being, a version of a relationship, a chapter. So even what you guys, have been going through, the fact that, you've felt to come back to Australia, and there's been a death. There's been a death of a version of your relationship. And Jared and I have had multiple deaths of our relationship throughout the year. Because you're a 9 life path, that is going to have been activational for you, and you're going to have received keys, codes, knowledge, wisdom, activations because of that death, that ending, that closure, that completion on that chapter. And this is the big thing with the 9 and for people with 9s, and Jared teaches me and shows this all the time, because he's a 9 hearts desire. So I don't have a 9 in my blueprint. People with the 9s, they're actually friends with death. They're friends with endings, closure, completion. And they're here to remind us and to show us of the importance of celebrating it. Embracing it, because the 9s know what's on the other side. And what's right next to the 9, mortally, it's the 1. If you're just on earth, it's the 1. Death is right next to birth. Even though 1's here and 9's here, when you look at it on a circle, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, the 1's right next to it. And this is, death, birth cycle. The 11, rebirth, resurrection. And so the people with the 9s that hold 11s in their blueprint, which you do, they know and understand that death is necessary for more light, more expansion, more magic. And that's the role of the 9 and the 11.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that makes perfect sense. When I left, I was told on the 9th of March, the day before my birthday, like all these things were going to change. On the 10th, it came through in light language. On the 11th, it came through stronger again in human language. It's time to go. Now, it took me 3.5 weeks. I crocheted like a mad woman for 3.5 weeks, coming to terms with understanding, knowing if I came back here, there's every likelihood I may not be able to see him in the flesh again for 2 years. So I sat with this for 3.5 weeks, and he did too in his way. And then when I came and said, look, I've got something to say, he said, yes, I know, we'll make it happen. So we both knew it didn't make any sense to us, but we knew we had to do it. We knew it wasn't an ending of us, but it was an ending of some sort that was going to create more expansion. And we've absolutely had that. So what you're saying makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Now, the reason why those numbers are so strong and so powerful and so significant for both of you, especially you though, Morgan, especially you, is because your birth blueprint, and even if you don't align with the name right now, irrelevant, because our birth blueprint and the numbers in our blueprint is like our skeleton. It's like our skeletal system, or it's like us naked without any clothes on.
The foundation.
And that stays, absolutely, it stays with us forever.
Yeah.
If we change our name, we might put extra clothes on, change things up a little bit if the numbers change, but it stays with you forever. And you're a 9 life path, and that stays with you regardless of however many name changes you make, because that's your date of birth. But your expression number from your birth name on your birth certificate is an 11.
Mm.
So you're a 9/11. Now, the numbers that are at the top of our blueprint, we've got 5. The top 2, they are the strongest, the most powerful, the most significant, because these 2 are connected to our purpose, our walk and our expression, the theme of our life, and our greatest gifts, talents, abilities in this lifetime.
Yeah.
So you're a 9/11. And the 9 and the 11 together create another 11. So based on your birth blueprint, your purpose is an 11 too, because you're a 9 life path and 11 expression on your birth certificate. And that is connected to the twin flame journey, relationship, connection. Now, the magic of the 11 is the 2 is all about partnership, relationship, friendship in physical 3D reality. The 11 is multi-dimensional connection, the ability to connect with another soul across time and space, whether they're in a physical body or not. And this is where psychic abilities come from, mediumship abilities. And so because you're an 11 expression in your birth name, this is what you were born with. This is your little Akashic record, cosmic CV printout. Yeah. This tells me at a soul level, you are phenomenally gifted with psychic abilities, clairvoyant abilities, mediumship abilities, and the ability to speak, channel, understand, and communicate light language. Mm-hmm. And you have phenomenal prophetic abilities. People with 11s, we can see the future. We can see multiple future timelines.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Gosh, thank you.
It's cool. And it's a huge part of your purpose based on your birth name. And again, even if you don't resonate with it right now, and even if you don't use it necessarily on a day-to-day basis, it's still part of your purpose in this lifetime.
Yeah. God. I've had such resistance to it, such huge resistance You know, when I found out at 13 it was there, it was like, oh my gosh, that's a shocking name, and that's what a horrible story. And then it popped up when we got married, and I've gone, oh gosh, here it is again. What's it doing here on something that's so sacred to me, and I've got that horrible name on there. But if I look at Todd's name and my name on our marriage certificates, it's 1111. Which you were probably going to tell me, sorry.
It's okay. No, it's fine. Yeah. And so with the name, what we resist persists, right? So that name, God bless it, you know, and this is the thing, when, you know, when we remove any of our human emotion that has anything to do with a name, and we just see the letters as keys and codes, and I just sit here and just decode everything. Mm-hmm. We can just see the frequencies, right? So for me, where I sit, that name was going to keep showing up because it was going, ooh, Morgan.
Well, it does. I've got an older brother. You know, every time I think of him, it's there because he's Michael Bestwick. My sister-in-law, you know, those family members are Bestwick, so it's always in my face.
Yeah. So the beautiful thing with this man whose name you received when you were born, it was because of him and because of those keys and codes that I'm now able to sit here and decode this and tell you who you were at a soul level when you arrived.
Yeah.
And I can acknowledge who you are, and especially the gifts that you have. So you needed that name. You were meant to receive that name at birth. So, so that everyone knows who you are at a soul level. And it's very different. It's different to the frequency of Morgan Lee. And Morgan Lee is just as wonderful and magical and amazing in her own right. But these phenomenal psychic gifts that you have, I wouldn't be able to see them or decode them if it wasn't for Bestwick.
Gosh. Okay.
Yeah. And you know, they're with you for life. They'll never go anywhere. You know, you could change your names a million, squillion, bazillion times and they'll still be there. Mm-hmm. So that's your 11 expression. And again, the expression number, all the letters in our full name, our unique gifts, talents, and abilities, our numerological love language, the language that we naturally intuitively speak. So Todd is a 7. So he speaks the language of the elementals. He speaks the language of literacy, and he speaks the language of knowledge and wisdom. And this is why he does what he does and why he's sharing all this information. He's an 11 life path and a 7 expression. So he's connecting with people through technology. He's providing a platform to shine light on them. And he's there helping people share their knowledge and wisdom. People like me, for example. Whereas, yeah, you know, so it's like, and then together, what's really interesting is your 11 and his 7, based on your birth name. So we just look at that blueprint, creates a 9. So then there's so your combined life path is an 11, and then your combined expression number based on both your birth names is a 9. So there's the 11 and the 9 in that.
God, goodness sakes. Oh my goodness. No wonder I'm so addicted to 9/11. I thought last week about doing an event, and Todd said, what date? And I'm like, it has to be 9/11. Now he's thinking, you know, who can we bring on for the 9/11 20th anniversary? I'm thinking, no, let's introduce this great big stuff on 9/11. Yes, it's a very, very important number to me, and I had no idea why. So thank you so much.
Yeah. A really, really important portal, the 9/11 portal for you, and really important keys, really powerful activational keys. So whenever you guys are doing anything on a date that involves the 9 and the 11, it will be powerful, amplified, sacred, super turbocharged, magnificently supported.
Yeah. And the event, just the event that we're thinking about doing, that we were thinking about doing, and the date that I wanted was on sacred sexuality, Arius Gamos, divine union. Wow.
So amazing. So that's your expression number. And then if we look at Morgan Lee, I'm just gonna let Morgan Zakes be, because I just feel like it's so important to just honor like where you've come from and who you were when you landed and where you are now and what you resonate with now. Your expression number for Morgan Lee is a 9. Morgan when you arrived and Morgan now bridges the 9 and the 11.
Yeah.
Really incredible. And again, that 9 is about the past, endings, closure, completion, acknowledging the past, celebrating the past, but also letting go and clearing the way and clearing the space for the new, and especially the vision of the new earth. And this is what I was talking to Todd about on December. The 11, the people that hold the 11s, we hold the vision of the new earth. We know what it looks like. It's full of peace. It's very pure. It's very light. And it involves divine union. It involves sacred union. It involves, the twin flames coming together to co-create heaven on earth.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of letting go. This is what the planet's going through and has been going through for a while, and people will keep going through, and people with the 9s are here to help people let go.
Amazing. I love your language.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's really amazing. And, this is what zero pointing is for you. The zero pointing is to help people, deal with the 9 and approach the 9 and let go of, clear out whatever no longer serves them, to create more space for the new. And really, it's not even the new. It's kind of what has always been there that, we've forgotten, or we haven't remembered or realized that it's our birthright to experience.
Yeah. Goodness. Wow.
So and I love numbers so much because I love patterns and synchronicity as well. And for me, when the numbers are repeating, it makes a reading very, very easy, because these are the numbers and the frequencies that I know are very important to that person, that soul's partner, their journey as individuals, as sovereign beings, and together. So, there are other numbers in your blueprint, and, we'll come on to them now, but, really acknowledging the 9 and the 11. So the next number in your blueprint, or in anyone's blueprint, is our heart's desire and soul's urge. So this comes from all the vowels in our name. And this is what we're passionate about. Heart's desire and soul's urge. It's what lights us up like a Christmas tree, actually. And what I found is, as long as we're living in alignment with this number, even if we're out of alignment of any of the others, it will help us pull us more into alignment, as long as we're following this one. And in your birth blueprint, this is a 4. This is a 4. And in your current blueprint for Morgan Lee, it's an 8. So what's interesting here is the 4 and the 8 numerologically are very masculine energies. They're very yang. So I always get excited when I meet women that have got 4s or 8s in their blueprints, because I know that they can get shit done and they're powerful women. And it's not to say that women without them aren't, but those energies aren't as strong or as front and center as they are for those of us women especially that hold the 4s and the 8s. So it's very interesting that you hold a 4 and an 8 in exactly the same place in both names.
Wow.
So in your heart, based on your birth name, you love to get shit done. You love to take action. You love structure. You love order. You love processes. And this is where, you know, the zero pointing process will have come from. And because you're a 4 and an 11, and you're an 11 expression, that process came from above. Like it didn't come, it wasn't inspired by anything on the ground. Direct, you know, directly from the cosmos. And that's what an 11 and a 4 combination does. The 11 energy is the dream time. It's what's up there. It's in the cosmos. It's the wishes, the dreams, the intentions, the visions. And the 4 combined with the 11 helps to bring those visions, those wishes, those dreams, that information down to earth, and then to take action to weave it into reality with structure, with order, with a process that creates greater efficiency and can speed things up. So of course, as a 9 life path, you would bring something like the zero pointing through to speed up people's letting go process.
Yep. My own number 1, especially. I did it for me. Yeah,
because 4s like speed. They like efficiency. They don't like things taking too long.
Yeah, that's right.
They're like, enough already, come on. Especially with the 9, if we're in karmic cycles, or if we keep going round and round and round, you know, the 4 will be like, okay, there's got to be a quicker way to deal with this. There's got to be a way to intervene. And the 11 is like, well, how do we shine light on this and move through this quickly? So this is
zero pointing out, you know, I found it on my journey. I kept going around cycles, layers. I'm like, no, I'm sick of this. Show me the core. I want to clear it at the core. I'm done with all the other stuff.
Yep. Yeah. So that's the 4 in your birth blueprint, and that's where the process, you know, has come from. And again, this is natural to you. This is innate. You know, this is like our heart's desire. It's like, you know, and understand the 4 frequency in a way that, you know, anyone else that doesn't have a 4 wouldn't, so to speak. And you're here to reflect that, and you're here to show that, and you're here to help and support and serve people from that place and space. Now, the interesting thing is Morgan Lee, it's an 8. So the 8 frequency is associated with power, abundance, money, business. So even though it wasn't in your birth blueprint, the 4 comes more naturally to you. It's innate. Morgan Lee is a name that you have adopted and that resonates with you now. So that number in that blueprint will be doing this with your birth blueprint, and it's sitting alongside your birth blueprint together, supporting it, so to speak. So the more you lean into the energy of Morgan Lee, who you are now, the more abundant you'll be, the more business-minded you'll be, the more resourceful you'll be, the more powerful you'll be. And this might be one of the reasons why you needed to physically separate from Todd, because what can happen is when we're in a relationship with someone, and especially when we're living together, and Jared and I were finding this, and this is where the numerology helped, we can become enmeshed. Our energies can become so connected that the relationship blueprint becomes more powerful than our separate individual sovereign numerological blueprints, which holds magic in its own right. And sometimes we have to separate in order to come back into our center and really connect with and remember who we are as a separate sovereign being before we can come back together, especially if we're cohabiting.
Yeah. And our relationship in the beginning, I went there for 3 months, came home for 3 months, back for 3, but I got stuck there for 2 years. And I found exactly what you're saying. It was too, I wouldn't call us codependent, but I felt the enmeshment happen. And I knew that, you know, that we both knew actually that part of the separation was because I'd said to Todd from the beginning, I don't like the term twin flames, because to me it suggests that, you know, I'm not whole and complete in myself,
Yep.
and that for me the relationship I had to maintain my own individuality always. So yeah, that was hard for me to be there for 2 years non-stop and not have that space to, you know, come back to my own center. So yeah, that makes sense too.
Yeah.
Mm.
So the cool thing about Morgan Lee, and I've been watching you and witnessing you and like feeling into, you know, you coming back here and just following your journey and the emergence of that 8 energy. Like now I've seen it in your blueprint. Like, you know, there's a lot of wonderful, amazing things that are starting to happen with your business and, you know, abundance wise, and you know, even for us to end up having this conversation, and for me to, I don't feel to reach out to people that much these days. I just let people come to me. But for some reason, I was just like, I was curious about wanting to know and understand more about what your understanding of zero pointing was, because the other amazing thing is that zero pointing is, and the 0 point is connected to the now moment and the present moment, and being in the present moment and not being in the past and not being in the future. And so I was like, oh, I'm really curious to see what numbers you hold in your blueprint that have helped you, you know, find that place yourself and help support people to, you know, come into that space themselves. And so if we move forwards in the numbers, personality number is the 4th number. And I'll come back to your relationship blueprint with Todd in a minute, but I want to stick with yours for now. Heart's desire and soul's urges, vows, what you're passionate about. Personality number is your role in this lifetime, like who you've come here to be. If we were to paint a number on your top right now, and the number that you're here to embody, these would be the numbers based on your birth blueprint and your current name. Morgan Lee, your personality blueprint is the 1, and it's the sovereign frequency. It's all about sovereignty. And so a huge role of Morgan Lee is to help you embody your sovereignty, because you don't hold a 1 in your blueprint, but you hold an 11. And so Morgan Lee is helping you to really embody and embrace that 1 frequency and to be the personification of sovereignty. And even what you did by physically going into separation, leaving your husband, like leaving your beloved, which, you know, to some people would be like, oh my goodness, like, whoa, that's a really big deal. You are actually fully coming into alignment with the embodiment of the 1 in your Morgan Lee blueprint to actually help and support your 11 in your birth blueprint. Because and I was saying this to Todd last year, we cannot, for those of us that hold 11s, we can't fully embody and embrace the 11 energy until we've remembered and embodied the 1.
Absolutely, and I'm so passionate about that. I've been saying for a long time, you cannot keep focusing out there on oneness until you understand oneness within.
Yeah.
And I also understood in the going, whatever I did for me was going to expand our relationship anyway.
Yeah.
It was a hard decision for the human to align with, even though it came from elsewhere, but I knew I had to, and he matched me in every moment.
Yeah. And so the 1 from a sacred geometric perspective is the circle. It represents wholeness, whole and completeness. And when the 1 becomes an 11, when a whole and complete being comes together with another whole and complete being to create the twin flame experience, and we can have twin flame experiences with many people, many people. One whole and complete being coming together with another whole and complete being, Vesica Pisces. But when they separate, they're still whole and complete beings. When they come together, it's 100 plus 100 creates 200. And then in the middle is where the magic happens.
Yes.
And so, you know, you hold this 1 in your blueprint for Morgan Lee, which is supporting the 11. It's supporting the 11 expression, which your soul knows, you know, your soul knows the importance of sovereignty, but it's also supporting your relationship because you're an 11 life path together. What's also interesting is Todd holds an 11 in his blueprint. His personality number is an 11. And yeah, so his soul knows and understands and acknowledges the importance and the power of the 1 and the 11. So you both have 11s in your blueprints, and then it's the theme of your relationship, and it's the purpose of your relationship as well, because you're an 11-9. So it's, you know, there's so much mirroring going on, so much mirroring with the 11. That's another powerful energy and frequency of the 11. And then your birth personality number is a 7. So, you know, this is where like you and Todd are very interesting mirrors for one another, because you both hold the 11 and the 7 in your birth blueprints, which again, this is why Soulogy exists. Soulogy exists to share this knowledge and wisdom across time and space through technology. But also, if you really get into it, the 7, when the 11 and the 7 comes together, it's sharing knowledge and wisdom about the twin flame experience, relationships, partnerships, friendships even, and the importance of anchoring that one energy and that one frequency from a sovereign perspective.
Yep. Yes, absolutely. Very passionate about that.
And it's one of the reasons why you take so much action for Soulogy, and you're the kind of almost behind the scenes to an extent, because of your 4, you know, you're taking action, you're organizing things. It's an administrative frequency as well, the 4. But what's interesting is this, and I felt this as well for a while, because sometimes you're there and sometimes you're not, and sometimes you're seen and sometimes you're not.
Mm-hmm.
With the 11 energy, and Todd's more front and center, he's an 11 personality, so he's, you know, he's okay being seen. He's all right being seen in the limelight. The 2 energy is the support energy. So the 2 is the mortal energy of the 11. And I say this a lot in readings and in my teachings and in Facebook Lives. I believe the hardest transition for those of us that hold master numbers is from the 2 to the 11, because most of us that hold master numbers, not all of us are vibrating at that master frequency, that highest frequency. A lot of us will be vibrating at the more mortal frequency until we have the confidence, we feel safe, we feel ready to be seen in that master energy. So it's the same with the 22 and the 4, or the 33 and the 6, and the 11 and the 2. The 2 is backstage. They're happy doing stuff backstage from a theatrical perspective.
Yep.
And they're comfortable with that, and they're happy with that. And even if they happen to make it on stage, they would be in supporting role, best supporting actress or actor role.
Mm-hmm.
When those of us that have master numbers, and especially the 11, are really ready to be seen in our light and to share our magic, our knowledge, and our wisdom, that's when we move from the 2 to the 11. The 11, front, center, stage, spotlight on us.
Now I'm sitting here saying I've got no interest. I like sitting back here quietly. Every now and again, it's like I'm pushed to jump forward for a moment, but then come back to my own comfort.
And that is because your birth name is a 7 personality, and the 7 is the hermit.
Yeah, that's me. Yes.
The 7s are really happy in their caves, and they're really happy gathering the knowledge and the wisdom, and they're happy to share it if someone wants to come and hang out with them in their cave.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And and Morgan Lee is a 1, and the 1 is a leader. But the 1 is different to the 11. So the 11 is out front and on stage, being seen and heard with the spotlight on them. The one is just leading quietly. And if anyone wants to follow them, that's awesome. But they don't necessarily have to be front and center seen all the time, but they are leaders. And the ones are leaders of the new earth. The 11s are the leaders of the awakening and awakening people to the new earth. And you're 11 in your birth blueprint. You're here to speak the language of the new earth. You're here to shine light on what it is to speak the language of the new earth, which is why zero pointing is important, because that collapses all of the old ways of speaking and all of the words that have been distorted or fiddled with, and phrases and expressions that keep us stuck or keep us in the past.
Yeah. Mm.
So amazing.
Yes, it is incredible. You amazing information.
Yeah. And then so the final number, you know, in your blueprints, because we have 5 major numbers, is your divine soul's purpose, your reason for being, the reason why you've come here in this lifetime. And your birth blueprint is an 11 because it's your 9 life path and your 11 expression added together, which is 20, or it's an 11. So your divine soul's purpose based on your birth blueprint is an 11. So your purpose is to be of service to that frequency. The 2 is all about peace, calm, balance, tranquility, harmony, equality, the acknowledgement of the masculine and feminine equally.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 11 is the master of illumination, to shine light on the twin flame energy, the divine union, the coming together of sovereign being and sovereign being, and what that is, and the Vesica Pisces, to be of service to that, and to shine a light on the vision of the new earth.
Mm. What
it looks like. And then your purpose for Morgan Lee. So Morgan Lee, you're a 9 life path and a 9 expression. So 9 plus 9 is 18. 1 plus 8 is a 9. So your purpose for Morgan Lee is a 9. So your purpose for your birth name is 11. Your purpose for Morgan Lee is a 9. Is the 9 and 11 again?
Gosh. You must love your work, Katherine.
It's so fun.
Yeah. Gosh.
It's just, for me, the numbers explain and mirror, you know, people's journeys and their stories. And, you know, for me, these days, more often than not, I'm only ever giving readings to people that are in alignment. So all it does is confirm and magnify and amplify what the beautiful souls who come to me for readings, or if there's an exchange, know already. And it actually gives the human more certainty.
Yeah. I understand. I've got exactly the same with zero pointing. I don't get anyone who doesn't align with it, know it innately somewhere in their being. Like, yeah, I know. I understand that fully.
Yeah. So, you know, as I've said before, a huge reason for you being on the planet in this lifetime is to zero point, to help people let go of whatever it is that isn't serving them, especially these karmic loops and these karmic patterns.
Yep.
And to help usher them, move them, support them more into the light, into the new earth, into the new way of being, so they can be who they came here to be the most expansive, magical, magnificent versions of themselves possible, and be of service to the co-creation of heaven on earth.
But interestingly, I'm very passionate about not helping them. I'm very passionate about sharing how I did it. Now go and help yourself.
Yes, yes.
So empowering them, you know,
yes.
to, yeah.
Yeah, and that's where the 4 in your birth blueprint, which is the system to do it, and the 1 in Morgan Lee is the sovereign. So the 1s don't want anyone to be dependent on them at all.
Nope.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And so then, you know, kind of finally coming back to like you know, your blueprint with Todd. So your blueprint with Todd based on your birth name and Todd's birth name, the 5 numbers, 11, 9, 9, 9, 11.
For us, do you mean?
Yeah. Based on both of your blueprints. They're the only numbers in the blueprint.
Say that to me again. It's 9 or
11,
9,
9, 9, 9, 11.
Wow. That's something big, isn't it?
It's huge. As soon as I saw it, I said to Jared, I was just like, oh my God. Powerful. I've never seen a blueprint like it. I've never seen a blueprint. I've seen thousands. I've never seen a human blueprint like it. And no, that's a lie. There's one blueprint I've seen like it. And he's Jared's closest friend in the Byron Shire. One blueprint. That's it. And I met him through Jared. But I've never seen a relationship blueprint like it. It's phenomenal.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm even sitting here shocked. I mean, I know what you just said. It's igniting something so massive in me. I can feel all the energy coming in. It's created, God, I'm covered in goosebumps. It's created a massive shift in me. It feels like an explosion's happening. And I know how energy works. I've got it. And in 2, 3, 4 days, my brain's going to catch up with what you just said to me. My whole body is vibrating with that.
Very powerful codes.
That's both of us together. That's our
together. Yeah,
numbers.
Based on both of your birth blueprints, like who you came here to be, like who you were before you arrived.
Why Morgan Lee Bestwick is on my marriage
It's on your marriage certificate.
Oh.
And you know, regardless of the name you use now, that union and that name is holding that blueprint together. It's holding those, you know, yeah. It's not so even about Bestwick. It's
so the only oath, yeah, the oath that we've got together down on paper says 11 9 9 9 11.
Yeah,
on paper in our oath to each other.
Yes.
I wish Todd was watching this. This is where he cries. I sit here giggling and all excited and feeling all the energy, and he just starts crying.
Yeah. Well, he is watching it. I mean, and he's energetically, his soul's with us right now. And yes, you know, I know you'll be watching it, Todd.
Yes, he will be. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay.
It's huge.
Yeah, it is. And I can feel the energy of it, but my brain can't compute what's just been given.
Yeah. And you know, for me, I just share the keys and codes. I share the human words, and there are many people that I give readings to. They have to re-watch these many times because the human can only receive a certain amount. And you know, I transmit a lot of light when and a lot of there's human words and information, but there's big activations that happen whenever I give a reading, and it can take a while for the human to integrate it and receive it, and for the ego to actually get its beautiful little brain and mind around the magnitude of, you know, who we are and why we're here, and especially now the unions that are happening. And this is why doing something on 9/11 together, you know, your 11 expression, you're already seeing it. Your soul and your higher self and your guidance, you're already in alignment. I'm just here confirming to your beautiful human.
I've got some more numbers that have been coming at me, and they're constantly coming, and I'd love to ask you about it if you don't mind, but that's the 22nd of February 2022, the 555, the 5 2s.
Yeah.
Look, for
Yeah.
me, that feels explosive. I haven't tuned into what that is yet, but that feels like a massive day that's coming.
Yeah, the 22-2-22.
For the, I don't like the term, but for the divine unions, something around.
Yeah, because the 22 frequency is the frequency of divine union, and it's the frequency of the twin ray. So the 11 energy is the twin flame. The 22 is the twin ray. The twin ray energy is when the twin flames commit. They come into sacred union. So that's what you and Todd have already done. You're already vibrating at the 22 frequency. You are I wouldn't say you're twin flames, but you're souls that have had a twin flame experience and still have that, still having that twin flame experience, but you've committed to one another. You've made a commitment to one another. And that's the 22 frequency.
Yeah.
And you hold those energies in your birth blueprint anyway, because you hold an 11 and a 4. And when the 11 and the 4 come together, that's the dream weaving energy of the 22.
Yeah.
So your soul knows how. I don't know how you guys came together or who initiated things, but energetically it feels like your soul would have taken the action to make that union happen or make that marriage happen, or
I did. Poor Todd, he stalked me for 6 months before he had the courage to reach out. When he reached out and I saw this wild, crazy man dancing on the, I'm like, whoa. But 2 days later, when we connected exactly the same time on the 3rd of, I think it was 3:33 in the morning for him on the 3rd of September, and I immediately went into Herias Gamos with him. Yeah. Immediately. It was known. And I think 3 months later, I said, look, I've got 6 weeks by myself. I'll come over and see you. No, that can't happen. So I had to wait a year till he was ready to clean up his act a bit. But yeah, I knew.
Yeah.
I just knew, okay, I've got, all right, let's not muck around. Let's just make this happen.
That's what a 4 expression would do. And I'm a 22 life path, and this is what I was talking to Todd about. Like, a huge part of my role in life is to be of service to people in divine union, or coming into divine union, or wanting to come into divine union. And
so I do too. I have a lot of people, but no, actually mine's not so much about union. Mine's not about union. Mine's about sacred sexuality, sacred union, Herias Gamos.
Yep.
That's what I get contacted a lot. We teach people how to activate their own ancient wisdom and all that sort of stuff. So
yep. Yeah, absolutely. But because you hold the 11 and the 4, you hold those keys and codes that can move people in the direction of sacred union, divine union.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And help people let go of whatever's holding them back and take action.
What I'm more passionate about. Let's move all these things that are stopping this from happening with ease and grace. Let's get rid of these old programs that just get in the way. That's my number one passion.
That's your 9 life path. That's your 9. That's the theme of your life, like letting go, clearing it all out, and taking action, because you're a 4 hearts desire. You're not here to muck around, like you said. Like, the 4s are all about action, take action, make change, let go, all of that jazz. So so that's your blueprint based on your birth names and your married names. But there'll be another blueprint playing out because of Morgan Lee. So I would say, because your birth name is on your marriage certificate, I would say that is the one that is most powerful and is the one that got anchored for your journey of union together. But with Morgan Lee, so you're both still an 11 life path, because you're a 9 life path. Todd's an 11, and then when the 9 and 11 come together, that's where you get the 11. So that will never ever change. But because you're a 9 expression with Morgan Lee, and Todd's a 7, the 9 and the 7 come together, you get 16. And I can send this to you as well. I'll draw this out so you've got it as a reference point. But that makes your current relationship blueprint based on your current name, even though your married name is, all of that sounds still and significant is a 7. So again, there's that 11 and the 7 again. So this, you guys coming together to share knowledge and wisdom and information together, that is, you know, going to help people remember and illuminate things for people, especially with regards to union, especially with regards to coming into union. And then Todd is a 5 heart's desire and soul's urge. That's the 5s, and he's got no 4s. The 5s struggle to commit. The 5s are like, you know, all over the place. So you're a 4 and he's a 5, which makes you a 9 in your married name.
Yeah.
And Todd has no 4s. So you help to provide the structure, and you help to get shit done and make things happen. And that's no slight on Todd. That's just what you're awesome at. And he's awesome at being spontaneous and going with the flow and not having a plan. And that's how you kind of balance one another out. But what's beautiful is Morgan Lee and Todd Randall Medina, your heart's desire together, because you're an 8 and Todd's a 5. 8 plus 5 is 13. So you make a 4. So your current name, so there's still that structure there. So that's supporting Todd, because he doesn't have any 4s in his birth movement. And you know, the funny thing, Jared doesn't have any 4s either. Jared's got no 4s, bless him. And I'm a 22-4 life path. So I'm here reflecting and showing him and helping him with the 4, but he's a 5 soul's purpose. So he's a huge part of his role is to help me, you know, let go of the 4 sometimes and go with the flow and trust and, you know, all of that jazz. And then your personality number. So as we know, Todd's an 11 and your current name, you're a 1 with Morgan Lee. So 11 plus 1 is 12. 1 plus 2 is 3. So the 3 is all about communication, creativity, the spoken word, story, telling stories. So the role of your blueprint as Morgan Lee with Todd, in conjunction with and collaboration with your married name relationship blueprint, which is a 9 personality, is going to be, you know, telling stories and maybe talking about the past or talking about what we've let go of. And celebrating the past and where we've come from. And, you know, the 3 is also about happiness and joy and positivity, playfulness. It's a very, very playful energy. It's the frequency of the sun and sunshine as well. So, you know, that's coming in with Morgan Lee to bring more sunshine, more brightness, more happiness, more joy, more playfulness to your relationship and how you guys show up on the planet together.
Oh yes, we do a lot of laughing.
Yeah. And so and so then the purpose of your relationship and your relationship blueprint with Morgan Lee and Todd Randall Medina is your 11 life path and the 7 expression. So 11 plus 7 is 9. So there's the 9 again. So it's like the 11 and the 9 continuously. So your married name relationship blueprint, the purpose is an 11. Your current names, Morgan Lee and Todd Randall Medina, is a 9. So it's just that 9 and 11 again. It's just like you're never going to be able to get away from it in this lifetime. It's like when in doubt, come back to the 9 and the 11. Like the 9 and the 11 is pretty much, I would say, at the heart and the center and the soul of your alignment, especially as a woman, as Morgan, but also in your union, and you're coming together with Todd.
Unbelievable. That's incredible, just mind-blowing. And I love the awareness that I've had some massive transformation in that as well. And I'm so excited to see, you know, what presents with that over the next few days. or not. I mean, whatever happens is fine, but that's how it usually works for me. I feel the energy shift and then boom, my little brain catches up over the next few days. That's amazing, Catherine. Incredible.
Mm. And what will probably happen, just knowing who you are and how connected you are and just how freaking cosmic you are and how powerful your abilities are to, from a prophetic perspective. Now that I've given you these keys and codes to help your human remember what your soul and your higher self already knows, it will give your higher self and your soul permission to release more information and give you more puzzle pieces and show you more things, because your human has this information now and it will make sense to your human.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. Transmission complete.
That was magnificent. Absolutely sensational. Thank you so much.